welcome back, Coach. This is week 10. This is Greenville week, playing for the Jug. The little brown jug is the trophy game. As an announcer I know you would say you were on the smiling side of the scoreboard again this past week against the Butler Aviators. But before we get into that a little bit, the 8th grade team deserves a little bit of recognition. They are 16-0 for 7th and 8th grade over the last 2 years. Maybe talk a little bit about that team.
Yeah, no, it's a neat group of kids. They've done a really nice job. There is a couple, a lot of times when junior high teams are really, really good, it might be just because they have one or two really, really good kids that might be a little bit more mature physically than other kids. And this group's certainly got a couple kids that are pretty special. But what really gets us excited is the overall depth of the class. There's a lot of kids that can play the line. There's a lot of kids that are good at linebacker positions and that kind of stuff. It's a really, really deep class that really enjoy playing physical football. There's some things that class has got to work on as far as maturity and growing up a little bit. But they're 8th graders, so we've got time to figure all that kind of stuff out. But it's a neat class, not just for football, but a lot of those kids are really, really good wrestlers, or they're pretty good at basketball, and they like to play baseball. So it's a deep class that likes to play multiple sports, and we're pretty excited for that 8th grade class coming up, the class of 2022.
Awesome. So focusing now on this game and a big win over Butler on the road, which you guys are now 4-0 on the road with one more coming up. The team came out, and even out of the halftime break, I thought the team was much more vocal and very much focused. Was that the emphasis this week at practice, to come out and not have a...
Yeah, no, we wanted to have a bounce-back week. Obviously, they were disappointed with how the Troy game went, and we still had a lot of things to play for, and we didn't want to have that game define what our season was going to end up being. And so we came out with a renewed sense of enthusiasm, I think, during the week. I think that carried over to the game a little bit, and we wanted to make a statement. It's been a long time since we've won down there, and kids wanted to see what we were made of, and I thought we went down there and proved a point.
Absolutely. So the defense comes out, and 2 or 3 kickoff miscues that gives Vandalia really, really good field position. But the defense steps up and has some key stops on 4th down. They stop a fake punt. Devin has a couple of good tackles. Talk a little bit about the defense in the first half.
Yeah, just before I get, the kickoff coverage is something that we've got to get better at. I thought we were really good at the beginning of the year, and that certainly was not real good for those first 2 in that game. But the defense did a nice job of being able to hold them. I thought they played as well as we have all year on that side of the ball up until about a minute left in that first half. But stopping the fake punt, stopping some drives that were already started off deep in our territory, I thought they did a nice job stepping up. The second half we might have worn down a little bit. Had some guys with got banged up a little bit that couldn't play in the second half there. But I think overall they played as well as they have all year in that first half.
And talk a little bit about, although he gave up a long reception, kind of mistimed to jump there, but Josiah Hudgens had a couple of nice knockdowns. He was kind of on an island with one of their talented receivers and going very physical the entire game. Had an interception late in the game, I believe.
Nope, they've got one really, really special receiver. For the most part, we held him, I think, just 2 catches, maybe only 34 yards. He's been averaging 30 yards a catch. So for us to hold him to 30-some yards total and just 2 catches was pretty big for us. And they've also got some really good other athletes out there. We didn't, we have Darren Taborn and Josiah Hudgens. And when we played Pickle, we had Darren Taborn always go to Hayden Shrub's side. But this week we felt like Josiah kind of earned it enough to try to put him out there a little bit on his own. And for the most part, he did a pretty good job of being in some tough situations. And it was nice to see him be able to make some of those big plays.
On offense, once again, you've got lots of yards on offense, things going pretty well there. You throw in a couple of wrinkles, a couple of trick plays there, a couple of throws.
Yeah.
One by Isaiah Bowser. He's already got a touchdown pass. He gets another one. And then a pretty neat play by Devin Rogers for a long pass down to the 1.
Yeah, I guess if you can't have fun, then what's the point of being around here a little bit? And Greg Snyder, our offensive coordinator, does a great job of, later on in the year trying to put some of that stuff in when kids are starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. It breaks up the monotony of practice a little bit, and kids are excited about the potential of being able to do it in a game also. We certainly have some more of that stuff up our sleeves, but when you got pretty good athletes, a lot of that stuff is easy to come up with. Isaiah's 3 for 3 on the year passing. for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. We've got a defensive tackle that's got a 45-yard pass completion. He throws for 45 yards, and he also got a touchdown in the game also. So when you got pretty good athletes, it makes those kind of things to do a little bit easier. And like I said, it makes it for a lot of fun. Kids are always trying to come up with their own ideas on what we can do a little bit, and it's neat to see some of their creativity on some of that stuff.
And speaking about the pass game, a couple of receivers stepped up really big. Kelton Stockton had 4 receptions for 71 yards. He had a nice reception, I believe, on Devin's pass. And then Darren Taborn had a really nice game. 7 receptions, 96 yards. Talk a little bit about those two guys.
Yeah, I think Kelton had one of his best games of the year, not just from catching passes, but also on his perimeter blocking. He struggled a little bit in the year on some of those balls, and we challenged him a little bit on having some better practices, and he responded very, very well. And some of those balls that he caught and all of our receivers caught weren't perfectly well-placed balls, and they had to go make good catches. And I think early in the year, some of those balls that weren't perfectly thrown to us, we weren't making those catches, and the excuses come up on that kind of stuff. And we challenge the kids, if you're able to touch it, you should be able to catch it. And those guys did a nice job. Darren, I didn't realize it, but until the game was over, we were able to look at the stats, but it's 7 or 8 catches, and that's a lot for our offense, considering we like to spread the ball around a little bit. And, his opportunities were there, and our quarterbacks were able to find them, and those guys did a nice job of making some plays for us.
Talk a little bit about what Greenville does on both sides of the ball. What do they do offensively, and then what's their look defensively?
We've seen a lot of different looks from them on both sides of the ball as far as different fronts and coverages they play on defensive side of the ball. They've mixed a lot of different stuff in this year. And same thing a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to be in a spread, similar to what we do offensively. They've had a lot of injuries this year, so I think when one kid goes down, they've got to make adjustments as far as what they do offensively and defensively. So that's what also makes it tough, because we're not quite sure what we'll see from them on both sides of the ball. But we've seen enough this year of a variety of offenses and defenses that I think our kids will be ready. And it'll be a good challenge, because once we get to the playoffs, we're going to have the same thing. We're not going to have teams as well scouted as we did, say, Pickwa or, say, Tip City or Troy. It's going to be a good challenge for us this week to be able to prepare for something that we're not quite sure what we're going to get from the Greenville team. It's a team that's struggling a little bit, but sometimes that's the worst type of team to be facing on the road for the last game of the year, because it's going to be their senior night. They've got nothing to lose. I'm sure they're going to pull out some stops or some tricks and that kind of stuff. So we're going to be prepared and not let this be a letdown game. It is important for our kids to hold on to that trophy. We've got 2 already from the year, with the Thursday Night Lights trophy and then the battered helmet. We want to keep that 3rd one in our trophy case right now and continue to get better and hopefully be playing our best football heading into Week 11.
Awesome. Well, good luck, Coach, this week, and hope we'll do a Week 11 show. And this has been Brett Bickle. Stingers up.